What if I told you that by, changing just one setting on your phone tonight, you could mathematically add 3 entire months of productive time to your year?
I mean, it sounds like an exaggeration, but the math actually checks out.
Right, because we're constantly sold these vague hustle culture tropes. Like you just need to want it more.
Yeah.
Or you're just waiting for some lucky break.
Yeah, the typical motivational stuff.
Exactly. But what if escaping a dead-end situation isn't about motivation at all? Like, what if it's just a strict equation?
Well, that equation is exactly what we are looking at today. We're doing a deep dive into a really compelling narrative.
Yeah, from a YouTube video, right?
Right, by the channel Living Life Tales. It's titled The Secret of 5 a.m., One Habit That Changed a Poor Man's Life.
Catchy title.
Definitely. But we aren't here to just tell an inspiring story, For you, the listener, the real value lies in the specific, actionable system of time management the source presents.
Yeah, we're going to look at the literal chronological math of how this guy, a 32-year-old night shift security guard named Thomas, completely transformed his socioeconomic status.
And he did it in exactly 90 days. We'll unpack the biological and psychological mechanisms that make that 5 a.m. time slot so entirely unique.
Okay, let's unpack this by starting with Thomas's reality. Because, the mechanics of his escape only make sense if we understand the trap he was in.
Right. It was a pretty brutal trap.
Yeah. So Thomas is 32. He's living in this town driven by day and night factory labor. He works as a warehouse night security guard.
A night guard, so his schedule's completely flipped.
Completely. He clocks in at 8 p.m., leaves at 6 a.m. And he physically walks 4 miles every single shift, just patrolling the perimeter.
Wow. 4 miles a night. And his living environment, it perfectly mirrors the bleakness of that schedule.
Oh, it's rough.
The video describes him renting this tiny one-room apartment. He has a broken fan, and he sleeps on a mattress placed directly on the floor.
No bed frame, nothing.
Nothing. The only light source is a single bulb that flickers constantly because the building's electricity is so weak. And, his shoes literally have holes in them.
Which is awful when you're walking 4 miles a shift.
Exactly. The chronic stress of his environment is just this constant low-grade tax on his nervous system.
The flickering light bulb really drives home the sensory reality of poverty. And, we need to shatter a massive misconception right now.
Which is?
Thomas was not lazy.
Not at all.
He was putting his body through grueling physical labor. But because of his schedule, his sleep cycle ran from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Right, so he's unconscious while the rest of the world is working.
Exactly. He was literally asleep while the world's economy, education systems, and social structures were actively functioning.
What's fascinating here is the psychological and physiological toll of that specific circadian misalignment. Thomas described this persistent feeling of living backwards.
Living backwards, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, because biologically, human beings are diurnal. Our cortisol levels naturally drop at night and peak in the morning to prepare us for action.
So he's fighting his own biology.
Constantly fighting his own endocrine system. Every morning at 6 a.m., he's exhausted, right? He watches his town wake up. He sees people in clean clothes heading to offices.
Well, he's just trying to go to sleep.
Right. He is retreating to recover from basic survival just as everyone else is stepping forward to build their future.
It's like running on a treadmill in a dark room.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
You're sweating, your heart rate is maxed out, you're putting in absolute maximum effort, but the scenery never changes.
Because hard work alone isn't a vehicle for upward mobility.
Exactly. It's just burning energy to maintain a stationary position. And Thomas felt this intensely. He only had a high school diploma.
And sheer physical exhaustion.
Yeah, the night shift made learning new skills seem biologically impossible.
So breaking out of a closed loop like that, it rarely happens voluntarily. It usually requires some kind of external shock.
Something that shatters the illusion that the current path is sustainable.
Right. And for Thomas, that shock arrives on a freezing Tuesday morning in November.
What happens?
Just as he finishes his shift, he gets a call from his sister. Their aging mother has collapsed in their countryside village.
Oh, wow. So Thomas takes this 3-hour bus ride out to the village clinic. And the diagnosis, it isn't a virus or an injury or something?
No, it's simply profound exhaustion and systemic stress.
Yeah. The doctor tells Thomas she needs rest, nutrient-dense food, and medication.
Basically 3 things that require money he absolutely does not have.
Exactly. So they're sitting in the clinic. It's 5 a.m.
And the video points out this really poignant detail. His mother's hands are worn from decades of field labor.
A direct parallel to how Thomas is grinding his own body down in the warehouse.
Yeah, she looks at him, knowing she's running out of time, and just begs him not to waste his life the way she feels she wasted hers. She pleads with him to find a way out.
So he steps outside the clinic. It's dawn. A few farmers are just starting to walk out to their fields,
And he's just standing in that freezing air.
feeling completely emasculated by his inability to help his own mother. He whispers, "No more." He decides he is going to find a way out, regardless of the physical cost.
Which is a huge mental shift.
A massive shift. And that aggressive openness, it primes him to notice something he would normally just ignore.
Right, on the bus ride back.
Yeah, on the 6 a.m. bus ride back to his town, he spots this highly successful local businessman, Mr. Chun, sitting a few rows away.
Peacefully reading a book.
Yeah. Wait, why is a rich guy on a public bus at dawn?
Well, Mr. Chun owns multiple thriving shops in the area, so his presence on a cold, early morning bus seems totally contradictory to his status.
Right, and Thomas, fueled by this new desperation, actually approaches him and asks him exactly that.
And Mr. Chun explains that he wakes up at 4:30 a.m. every single morning. He uses this window to read, think, and structure his day while the rest of the world is entirely offline.
But Thomas asks, how do you function without sleep?
Right. And Mr. Chun reveals he goes to bed at 9 p.m.
Oh, so he's getting a full 7.5 hours.
Exactly. And Mr. Chun points out a pretty brutal observation about Thomas's schedule. He tells him, "You are awake when the world sleeps, and asleep when the world works."
Wow, that hits hard.
It does. And Mr. Chun introduces this concept of the magic hours between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Which sounds very poetic, but it's grounded in reality.
Yeah, it's rooted in opportunity cost. The hours you spend awake after 8 p.m. are typically low energy, highly distracted hours.
Right, you're just consuming content or recovering from decision fatigue.
Exactly. By shifting those waking hours to the early morning, you trade low-quality evening time for a high-quality pre-fatigue morning time.
So Thomas asks how he can possibly tap into this when his shift ends at 6 a.m.
And Mr. Chun hands him a business card. He says it requires a level of discipline most humans reject and tells Thomas to call him if he's serious.
And Thomas actually calls,
He does. They meet the next day at a cafe at 11 a.m.
which just showing up at 11 a.m. is a massive disruption to Thomas's circadian rhythm.
Oh, huge! But it proves his intent. So Mr. Chun pulls out a notebook and draws a simple picture of a house.
Okay.
He tells Thomas that his life is a house falling apart because he is entirely consumed by patching the roof, like just surviving day to day.
And he never spends a single minute pouring concrete for a foundation.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because Mr. Chun backs up this metaphor with this undeniable compounding math.
The math is wild.
It is. He writes down the allocation. 2 hours every morning. That equals 14 hours a week. 60 hours a month. 730 hours a year.
Let's translate that 730 hours into a workplace metric, right? If you divide that by a standard 8-hour workday, that is over 90 full workdays.
90 days.
Yeah. By simply claiming those 2 morning hours, you are manufacturing 3 extra months of productive, uninterrupted time every single year.
Time that the average person is bleeding away in their sleep or on late-night entertainment.
It's creating literal time out of thin air. It completely reframes the narrative from sacrificing sleep to acquiring an asset.
But, an asset is useless if you don't know how to deploy it.
True.
So Mr. Chun gives Thomas a strict, non-negotiable blueprint for that 2-hour block.
Right, the system.
Right.
So hour 1, from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. is fiercely protected for building skills, but specifically money-changing skills.
Like what?
Learning a trade, a language, or mastering complex software. Mr. Chun emphasizes that with free online tutorials, lack of access to formal education is no longer an excuse.
Right, you can learn anything on YouTube now.
Exactly. And during this hour, the phone is a tool, not a toy. No social media, no news, no passive consumption.
Okay, and then hour 2, from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. is split.
Right.
30 minutes for physical exercise, walking, running, getting the heart rate up.
Because the underlying logic is that your body is the engine of your mobility. If it breaks down, the skills you learned in hour 1 are useless.
And the final 30 minutes are for reading or planning the execution of the day.
Yeah. We need to look at the neuroscience of why this specific sequence works. When you wake up, your brain is essentially a clean slate.
You haven't encountered all the micro stresses yet.
Exactly. No emails, no traffic, no interpersonal conflict. By studying complex subjects immediately upon waking, you are utilizing your brain before decision fatigue sets in.
Like defragmenting a hard drive.
Yes, without the background noise of daily life running in your mental RAM, you can store and organize new information with incredible efficiency.
Okay, wait a second. I have to step in here and challenge this entirely.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Because there is a massive biological flaw staring us in the face.
It's a schedule.
Yes, Thomas works from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Mr. Chun is telling him to utilize a 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. routine.
Right.
That overlaps with his actual warehouse shift. And more importantly, chronobiology dictates we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Yes, it does.
If Thomas shifts his sleep schedule to accommodate this, he's going to be chronically sleep deprived. How is someone supposed to learn complex data analysis while dealing with the cognitive decline, the brain fog, and literal physical damage of sleep deprivation?
Yeah, that is the exact paradox of his situation. But Mr. Chun's workaround for Thomas's night shift is what he calls survival sleep.
Survival sleep?
Yeah. Thomas is instructed to get home at 6:30 a.m. and sleep immediately until 11:30 a.m.
That is exactly 5 hours of sleep.
And you are right to push back. 5 hours of sleep is biologically dangerous over a long timeline.
It's terrible for you.
It impairs glucose metabolism, spikes cortisol, drastically reduces executive function. But Mr. Chun isn't denying biology. He is telling Thomas to take out a high-interest biological loan.
A biological loan. Wow, that is a brutal way to put it, but it makes sense. He's intentionally stressing his body to buy time.
Exactly. The 5-hour survival sleep isn't a permanent lifestyle. It is a temporary, grueling bridge.
Just to get him to the next stage.
Right. The strategy is to use his waking daylight hours to execute the 2-hour blueprint, acquire the skills necessary to land a normal day job, and then, and only then, transition to a healthy, sustainable 5 a.m. morning routine with proper rest.
Okay, so to ensure Thomas actually crosses that bridge before his body shuts down, Mr. Chun outlines 3 strict rules.
Right, the parameters.
Rule 1, zero negotiation. You do this on weekends, on holidays, on days you feel sick.
No days off.
Rule 2, you must control your rest. For a normal person, that means sleeping by 9 p.m. For Thomas, it means blackout curtains and sleeping the second he gets home.
And rule 3 is the psychological anchor, the 2190 rule.
What's the 2190 rule?
Well, Mr. Chun warns Thomas that the first week will be a physiological nightmare. His body will scream for rest and his brain will manufacture highly logical excuses to quit.
Of course it will.
But if he endures for 21 days, the routine forms a habit. If he endures for 90 days, it becomes his identity.
Okay, from a neurological standpoint, what is actually happening during those 90 days? Like, why is it so agonizing at first and then suddenly automatic?
It comes down to neuroplasticity and the myelin sheath. Every time you force yourself to do a difficult new task, like waking up sleep-deprived to study, your brain fires a new neural pathway.
Okay.
Initially, that signal is weak and requires immense conscious willpower. But as you repeat the action, the brain wraps those neural circuits in a fatty substance called myelin.
So it insulates the pathway.
Exactly. It allows electrical signals to travel faster and with less energy. By day 21, the myelin has thickened enough to reduce the cognitive friction.
And by day 90?
By day 90, the behavior has shifted to the basal ganglia, the part of the brain responsible for automatic behaviors. You no longer have to decide to do it. Your brain just executes the program.
So Mr. Chen gives him a 90-day challenge, a 3-month crucible to rewire his brain and build his foundation.
And he tells Thomas, show me what you've built in 3 months. If you do the work, I'll help you find a job. If you quit, lose my number.
And Thomas accepts. And, I mean, the reality of week 1 is just pure suffering.
Oh, it's agonizing. He's running on 5 hours of fragmented day sleep.
He wakes up at 11:30 in the morning, sits in the dim light of his apartment, and forces himself to watch free Excel and basic accounting tutorials on his phone.
His eyes are burning.
Yeah. His comprehension is incredibly slow because of the sleep debt. He chose accounting and data analysis because he realized that every single business on Earth needs someone to track money and inventory.
Which is smart.
It is, but imagine the profound isolation of this. His coworkers are sleeping, his family is in another town, he is just sitting alone, fighting his own biology, trying to make sense of pivot tables.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see the true power of an interruption-free environment.
Because no one is bothering him.
Right. Even in his exhausted state, the sheer absence of societal noise, no text messages, no social obligations, allows him to achieve a depth of focus that forces the information into his working memory.
And then he follows it up with the exercise.
Yes, 30 minutes of forced walking, which increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, aiding in the consolidation of what he just learned.
And the biology finally yields. On day 20, Thomas wakes up at 11:08 a.m.
2 minutes before his alarm.
Yep. His circadian rhythm has surrendered to the new schedule. The cognitive friction drops. The Excel formulas that look like hieroglyphics in week 1 suddenly map perfectly in his head.
By the end of month 2, he completes 3 distinct online accounting certificates.
3 certificates in 2 months. That's incredible.
Yeah. He has lost weight from the daily walking, and despite the low sleep, his mental acuity is sharper because he is fueled by momentum. He is engaging in a concept known as skill stacking.
Skill stacking. That's crucial here.
Yeah.
Because he didn't become a world-class CPA in 60 days, right?
Precisely. Skill stacking is the idea that you don't need to be in the top 1% of a single skill to be highly valuable.
You just combine things.
Right, you just need to be in the top 20% of 2 or more distinct skills and combine them. Thomas possessed deep asymmetrical domain knowledge of the warehouse's physical operations from his time patrolling it every night.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. By stacking basic data analysis and accounting on top of that ground floor operational knowledge, he created a unique value proposition that nobody else in the company possessed.
And in month 3, he deploys that exact value proposition. He notices the warehouse inventory is a chaotic mess.
So he takes action.
He does. He builds a comprehensive Excel spreadsheet that tracks physical inventory against shipping schedules, mapping what he knows from his patrols onto the software he learned in his tiny apartment.
And he hands this to his supervisor.
The supervisor is stunned. He asks Thomas how a night guard knows how to build relational databases.
And Thomas simply replies that he teaches himself during his waking hours.
Which is such a flex.
It really is. This piece of initiative travels rapidly up the chain of command, from the supervisor to the warehouse manager to the owner of the company.
Opportunity finally meets preparation. On day 87, 3 days before Mr. Chun's deadline, Thomas is called into the main office.
A climax of the 90 days.
Yeah. The company is expanding their logistics department. They need an accountant who actually understands how the warehouse floor operates.
They offer him a day shift position.
And it doubles his salary.
He successfully crossed the bridge. He survived the biological loan. That evening, he calls Mr. Chun to report that he never missed a single day and he got the promotion.
How does Mr. Chun react?
He's proud, but he immediately pivots. He tells Thomas that the discipline he built isn't a temporary tool to escape poverty. It is the operating system for the rest of his life.
The epilogue of the source material jumps forward 1 year, and it proves Mr. Chun right. Thomas is now the lead accountant for the facility.
He doubled his salary again.
He saved enough to move his mother from the village into town where she receives proper medical care.
Ooh.
He lives in a comfortable 2-bedroom apartment with reliable electricity.
And, most people, having achieved that level of stability, would immediately cash in on their success by finally sleeping in.
I know I would.
Right. But Thomas still wakes up at 5 a.m. every single morning. He now gets a healthy 8 hours of sleep, but he uses those early quiet hours to study advanced business software, read economic literature, and map out his long-term investments.
When his office colleagues ask him why he still pushes himself so hard when he's already made it, his response is profound.
What does he say?
He says, "Success is not a destination. It is a daily practice."
That phrase dismantles the myth of the lucky break. The gap between your current reality and the future you desire isn't bridged by a sudden lottery win or innate genius.
It's just a formula.
Yeah, it is systematically closed by how you weaponize the quiet hours when you are free from the demands of the world.
So what does this all mean? For Thomas, it meant utilizing the dark to build a foundation. But the source video translates this into a very direct challenge for you, the listener.
Right, actionable steps.
Step 1. Tonight, set your alarm for exactly 5 a.m. Put the phone across the room so you physically have to stand up to silence it.
That physical movement is key.
Step 2.
Yeah.
Pick one skill to build in that first hour. Do not scatter your focus across 5 hobbies. Pick one high-leverage skill and commit to it for 90 days.
And step 3 is probably the most difficult. Protect your 9 p.m. bedtime fiercely.
Because you can't wake up at 5 if you go to sleep at midnight.
Exactly. You cannot wake up early if you are staying up late. This requires you to cut out the Netflix binges, stop the endless doom scrolling, and recognize that sleep is not your enemy. Wasted evening hours are.
You are listening to this deep dive right now, which means you have internet access, curiosity, and educational resources at your fingertips.
The tools are all there.
The only variable left in the equation is what you do when the alarm goes off tomorrow morning.
This raises an important question, however.
What's that?
Well, if claiming these magic hours requires aggressively protecting a 9 p.m. bedtime, you are essentially trading your evenings for your mornings.
True. You miss out on a lot.
Yeah. By opting out of the late-night streaming, the evening scrolling, and late dinners, you are also disconnecting from the cultural unwinding and the evening social rhythms that the vast majority of society shares.
You're isolating yourself.
Exactly. Is the ultimate price of this extreme personal growth a temporary or perhaps permanent social isolation? And if so, looking at the math of those 730 extra hours, is that a trade you are willing to make?